Good evening, all.
What is happening? Welcome to Tuesday night. Tex and Ads here with you for your bi-weekly dose of trading goodness. Look how bright that reflective thing is in the background. I'm going to get rid of that. But welcome to Tuesday night. It's been a very good week of trading already. We've had some really good activity in the Discord and lots of guys sharing their views. Art, you've been sharing a lot of your views on Ichimoku inside the Forex channel, which is great, mate. Thank you for doing that. Fergs, obviously, as always. Jamie, sharing some of your insights as well. So thank you to everyone who's been contributing. It's been I wouldn't say I guess in the scheme of things, it's been a pretty easy trade week. There's been some pretty easily noticeable trade setups, which I've taken. We've had some really good winners this week and that have been continuing on for the last few weeks, more so like Tezos, for example. Theta had another run. We've been doing all right on XRP.
Yeah.
BTC moves have been pretty predictable, I think, thus far, as has the Ethereum. The Ethereum trades have been pretty easy. So without further ado, Ads, unless you want to add to that, I hope everyone in Victoria is staying safe and making the most of whatever time that you have available each day to work on yourself, to work on your trades, whatever it might be. I hope you're doing okay. So let's get into the charts, Ads, shall we?
Let's do it. Just flick over to the waiting screen for a sec. And Ty, you can get onto my screen, bro. Where are we? Here we go.
Also, there is a new little indicator that you might see there on the screen, being the volume bars that you can see there. It's a new indicator that the Evil Genius just shared with us, Craig's, that we are going to share for everyone probably tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow we'll share that with everyone. What it does is that the bars highlight small, moderate, and significant levels of volume for whatever time frame that you are on. So you can see that the grey volume bars represent sort of non-activity, I suppose, or average amounts of volume. The blue bars represent the higher than average or higher than median, which is the green line, the median line there. And the orange bars represent high levels of volume. Of course, when we see these high level volume spikes, whether it be selling volume or buying volume, that's really where we need to start paying attention to potentially any upcoming moves. And we can see there how each of those orange bars and indeed some of the blue bars have correlated towards moves to the upside or the downside. So if you want to get your hands on that, 100% free. We're giving that one away totally free. Stick around tomorrow or be inside the Discord tomorrow where we will send that out to everyone. All you need to do is just click a link, leave some details so we can get you hooked up on TradingView, and the indicator is yours for life. And we'll probably have a couple others of those that we'll give out over the next few weeks as well from the UTG archives and some other things that Evil Genius has come up with in the meantime. So ads, BTC, not really surprised by this move.
No.
If I recall last week, whether it be Tuesday or Thursday, the likely outcome that we had said was to go from those sort of mid to low 11 levels, tap the 12K mark, and come back down to sort of retest where we are right now. And if my eyes don't deceive me, that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, so my real thought process behind, coming up to this 12 level was initially the higher daily level of supply. Obviously, for those who are familiar with supply and demand, the main zones that we really look for on a swing, and I'll just get rid of this for one moment. The daily supply zones that we see are going to be the most respected. Obviously, there's the most volume that are creating these zones. So they're going to be the most influential, the most gravitational, if I can call it that, zones to go for. So the one that has been I've been eyeing off, excuse me, I can't even talk tonight, has been this 12-4 level. And of course, it was on this major pivot point that we created at around this 12-2 level here. And we did get immediately rejected here on the 6th of August last year. So just a year ago, not far away. I was a little bit, should I say, hesitant to long this level here. Obviously, you shouldn't long, the top, obviously, but just in case we do come up and we get harshly rejected again at this 12.250 supply level again, and we've just seen some front run happen at this level now. So what I'm waiting for right now, Ty, this 23.6, $11,634 to be respected again as we come towards it, to really confirm if this is going to be a double top scenario, if we're going to have this front run on this daily zone, or we're going to, arc back up and test it once more. But what I really think is going to happen is probably something that I've been describing in our daily updates inside the Discord for the last little bit, is that I don't think these runs can continue forever, and I think a lot of people out there will probably agree with me for that. However, this is BTC, and FOMO is real, absolutely. So if we do decide to hold these fib levels and we do decide to twist back up and test this zone again, this 12,000 level, and break above and create a high above this double top structure, I do think this 12,250, 12,400 supply is going to be very, very difficult in terms of resistance to get through. So that's my outlook on BTC right now. In the macro scale of things, this does need to cool down. If we do circle back and look at Steamroller, it's been very, very accurate in terms of calling these tops or these overbought levels, these stretched levels here, and we are teetering still within this zone, and we have been, since the 27th of July. So if you just pay attention to how long we do stay inside these zones for. It's probably nearing close to the end, I'm assuming, but nothing surprises me here, really.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up everything that I think. I think we might find a temporary bounce here. I really don't see that bounce going any higher than 11, sort of 7 if we were to bounce from here. And we'll probably end up cascading down, in my opinion, at least to that sort of 11,590 zone, which also correlates with the 100, or excuse me, rather the 50 MA is around that sort of 11,590 mark. If we don't hold that, and looking at the VPVR on my screen at least anyway, there's a little bit of a volume gap down to that 11,500. No, sorry, excuse me. There's a volume gap down to sort of mid 11,400s, and then ultimately down to about 11,350 sort of thing
on that 4 hour.
Yeah, on that 4 hour. But really now where we kind of sit, we've established a little bit of a trading range, sort of, let's say between 11,380 and pretty much 12,000. We obviously didn't get to that peak on that at around the 7th of August, where we peaked there at around 11,900, but still kind of teetering within that zones. We're making higher lows, which is positive, but we didn't necessarily make a higher high from where we've just rejected there at that. I'm looking at the Binance chart anyway, but at around 1267. So still kind of ranging at this stage again, and it's not really exciting, but anything above 12.2 I'm very bullish, and really anything below kind of 10.8 10.6 I'd be very, very bearish. So at this stage, this is exciting for me because as BTC sort of lingers sideways and stays within this range, it presented some really, really nice alt pairs on both the BTC pairs and the USDT pairs. So Bitcoin can keep doing its thing. I'm buying little bits here and there, as I am with Ethereum, but admittedly, I've got some pretty aggressive buys back down towards sort of 10.5, 10.9, 9.7, 9.2, 8.9, all the way back down to 8.8. We know that there's a CME gap at around 9.6. We saw that CME gap being filled last night or earlier today at around 11.6. So it's still lingering. We know there's a 95% statistical likelihood that a CME gap will be filled. There are many gaps much, much lower, which I don't think will be filled. Obviously, we're in this sort of, I feel this sort of new era of price discovery with BTC for this part of the cycle. But as I said to ads, we talk quite a fair bit behind the scenes about what we think. My narrative hasn't changed. I still think this is distribution, and those wicks that we get down are just testing liquidity at certain zones. If the whales can dump these orders, or even these iceberg orders, we don't see what's under the surface. There could be tons of big hidden orders down there as well. We dump the price, we test liquidity, we see what retail buyers are doing. And I really do feel like they're just distributing into this range. They're distributing into the late buyers. But in saying that, that's not to say that just because we are in this distribution range that we can't go higher. I've said that many times. That 12.6 zone or that 27 fib extension is very much still in play if we break above 12.1. But we've got to break above that 12.1, 12.2 zone for anything like that to happen. There's still anomalies that will occur outside of a distribution range or an accumulation range for that matter. So nothing is ever set in stone. The way in which Wyckoff wrote about it and his whole composite man theory and Elliott waves, for example, and everything like that, nothing is perfect. It's never going to be a perfect formation of distribution, but you've just got to spot these things. And I still feel we are there. I definitely feel like we, as I said, are in a new era of price. For BTC, I'm very bullish on BTC as a whole, long-term still. But at this rate, I think admittedly there needs to be a little bit of a cool-off. If we go to the 4 hour, just again, ads, very absolutely quickly, and just sort of bring that up. If you notice, and unfortunately I can't annotate, if we go back from this big wick that we had on the 28th of July, ads?
28th of July.
2020.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. 28th of July is right here. Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, the big tall wick to the upside there before we sort of dumped.
Yeah. This one here.
That's it. Yeah. So you can kind of see, and this is just a very, very loose theory. If you draw that, that's a W pattern. We hit the
Okay.
38, we come down to the 61, we go back, we double bottom, we come up.
Right, hang on, let me draw it in actually on the actual thing like that, you mean? Like this?
No. So we go from the 38 to the 61, back up to the 38, back down to the 61, and then that's when we go up to the.
Okay. You've, we need to get this annotation working, bro.
Not quite. Let me send you this real quick.
Yeah,
I'll
send it
send
to
you
me.
this. I'll send this to you real quick. And this is just a theory, but it's kind of paid dividends a little bit when.
Send it to me via Discord.
This is so rough. So please don't take this as gospel, anybody. I just thought it was an interesting comparison when you see. And I still have to check Snapchat, bro. I haven't checked it on that on my other phone for a little bit. Yeah, so you can sort of see how we make this W, we come up, and it's always the left shoulder of, or the left sort of side of this W formation where we've dumped quite heavily. We've had the W, the recovery, the up, the dump, the W, the come up, recovery, the W come up, and then recently just the wick again today. So are we just going to continue this sort of W formation, potentially making higher highs up to that 12.2 or 12 sort of 4 level? But I think it's interesting to note that I'm seeing that pattern play out. It's always that left W leg or arm or whatever it is that you might want to call that. That seems to have these heavy dumps. Now, I'm a formations guy. You know how I like to always talk about, hey, this looks like accumulation, or this looks like some sort of formation, or whatever it is. That's just what I'm seeing at the moment, and I kind of half expected this dump that we had today, and yeah, so that's kind of how I'll be playing it, and that sort of goes into my theory that we might head back down to maybe 11 sort of 5, make a small recovery, come back down, make a sort of a double bottom, potentially have another move to the upside, and then maybe dump again from there. But it's just a matter of really being in front of the screens a little bit at the moment because of these crazy wicks that we're getting.
Yeah. I think everyone can agree that's watching right now. I was probably not likely to draw this right going off this chart. But anyway,
and just very quickly as well, too, looking at that chart there, that's just one of about 6 or 7 BTC charts that I have open at the moment. But you can sort of see that liquidity void, that volume gap from where we are now down to how that next little bit of volume at around sort of 11.2-ish correlates with that 100 MA, and then obviously that pretty sizable volume gap down to that sort of 10.4 mark, which is that, or just above 10.6, which is that 200 MA, and then that point of control being way back down at 9.2, but I don't think we'll get there.
Just quickly before we move on to any other coins, and I'll fix this up a little. Let's have a look at the weekly chart, Ty, because there's been a lot of talks. There's a lot of talks, especially on Facebook about the weekly, I think, and I really want to point out something quite significant. And I do see that we have closed above this previous structure on the left-hand side here in July last year, and I completely see that, and I take that into account. Yes, however. We know how accurate supply and demand has been and will be and always will be in this market. And this zone here at 12.2 is going to be the zone to look for, and it isn't drawn on the weekly. The reason why I don't draw these supplies on the weekly or these demands on the weekly is because you can't. The zone will be too big, and you shouldn't really use the wicks really to draw these zones in. So yes, I do applaud BTC for closing above, and it's had a fantastic effort at it, but it's going to be very interesting to see how these zones play out. And we've been rejected quite harshly, even looking at the zone above here at the 14k level, and that wasn't drawn on the weekly either. So weekly didn't really come into play with that to create this structure here. So yes, weekly is a big factor, and I do look at it from time to time, but I wouldn't take it as gospel, as a 100% in, like 100% confirmation that we are moving up towards that 14 or 20k level. Just keep that in mind. Thank you, sir.
Boo the Bears. Boo, Ads and Ty, you
boo,
Bears. Boo.
People are logging off now. No. But I did have a question come through YouTube, because I have these comments. When you have two big ass candles, how do you decide the depth of the zone? That's probably a question for Discord. But initially, to draw the zone in, I'm just looking at that candle body at the 12.4 level there. But yeah, that's BTC. That's what we think. That's a very long-winded explanation. It's a 20-minute long-winded explanation on BTC. But what do we got for him, Ty? What's next?
Is that like us to talk about BTC and ETH too much, or me? Is that like me to talk about things too much, Ads? I think maybe it is.
No.
Anyway, let's get into ETH, and we'll keep this brief. I guess I won't share all my alt picks for this week. Then we better keep this short, Ads. We better keep it short. Let's get into it.
Don't be like that. ETH USD is the next pair we usually look at, not that chart, this one here. This chart is been interesting, all right, because it's really given us a clearer picture of the whole market, and that's really saying something. Because we have this zone drawn in from 400 to 420, and it's really giving us a decent grasp of the whole market, because we haven't even broken through it in the sort of fashion that BTC has. Excuse me, and we've really been walking sideways, and that's what really the market is doing. It's really representing that indecision, I think, that a lot of these markets are really suffering from right now. But in any case, if we had to judge ETH USD right now, really we are moving to the right. There's not much really premise that there's not really much telling me that we're going to move upwards. Yes, we could be creating, some form of this sort of pattern here, but I would be waiting for this, sort of break to the upside if I had to say anything, because you'd really be waiting for a break, a close above that to create a high, and then you'd want to jump in on a pullback for the next leg upwards if there is a decent enough pullback to do that on. And we have had that sort of scenario here, although it was very brief with this long wick. But if you had orders in the book, you would have caught ETH, for a ride from 327 to up to about 400. So it does happen with these markets, and you can play the pullback strategy. Obviously, if you see a high. The dips are for buying. If I saw that being thrown around the Discord a couple of days ago, but honestly, in the grand scheme of things, if we're looking on a daily on Ethereum, Steamroller especially giving us the alert signal there, but it does need a pullback, just like a lot of these USD pairs do. The 23, 38, 50, 61 are obviously the levels that we look at first, and obviously that 50 has been widely respected alongside this midterm level of demand, where we have that pause in the market just there, and that lining up with the 50 quite nicely. So that's probably why we did have that pullback and that smash down to the 50, because there is two levels of confluence there, and there's a lot of that demand being there obviously shows that the money's there for the long positions. But long-winded way to say it, it does need a pullback. 23.38 would probably be my picks immediately, but don't take that. Take everything as a grain of salt. We could push through this, close above, and make a high, and then continue up to 460. But it's looking less and less likely as every day moves forward with these indicators, turning towards the downside, Ty.
Yep, I pretty much agree with all of that. It's hard to deny the accuracy of Steamroller when it starts telling you that we're in heavily overbought conditions. I guess we are in a little bit of the euphoria stage when it comes to cryptocurrencies as a whole, after seeing BTC run and ETH run and a lot of these coins run. And we said that during the earlier portions of the year, where we have these alt seasons where are people putting their money when they're done trading alts? Well, it's into ETH USD, and the cycle just sort of repeats and rinses and repeats. So go back into alts to accumulate sats. So I still feel like ETH and BTC will have their time. There's no doubt about that. We're in the middle of having our time right now, but I think it's very easy to get caught up in the euphoria. So we just need to be very careful of that, and obviously keeping in mind what the rest of the world in terms of the global macro sort of economic situation is doing, and be vigilant of that, and not think that that things like crypto are too immune from that.
Don't get us wrong. Like we're reading the charts as the TA says it. So the TA says that this needs a pullback. There's no doubt about that, and I don't think there would be any doubt about that in anyone's mind looking at this chart as I presented to you right now. But we're well aware that this is a FOMO driven market. When we have runs like this that's done 80% from just this swing alone on Ethereum, there's all that possibility that we could break above, make a high, like I said, come back down, and then smash up to 460. There's every possibility. So when we say needs a pullback, all we're doing is we're reading this TA, we're calling it as we see it. So yeah, we're not getting too ahead of ourselves, because obviously you can't just always say we're going to smash 460 and there's no other way to really look at the market. But you just got to call it as you see it, and take it as it comes. I guess that's probably the two things that I'd really want to say.
Yeah, and I'd love that if we can break above 400. As I sort of said, I'm eyeing off 485, like around the 485 level for a longer term target. So don't think of ads and I as just perma bears, because we're not. But we got to see what the TA tells us, and if the TA changes, you have a plan for the opposite way. You make money. It doesn't matter what way the market goes. You're making dollars. So that's all that counts. That's why we do this.
Exactly. And what I say to a lot of people that join the Discord and have a chat to us is that you really have to take away the mentality of, I have to buy it at 440, I have to buy it at 220, I have to buy it at 320. The price, in the grand scheme of things, is irrelevant. The price that you buy the asset for is irrelevant. It just the real thing that matters is the difference between when you purchase it and when you sell it, and the percentage difference between those two numbers. That's the only thing that matters, irrespective of what the price of ETH is, irrespective of what the price of BTC is. We're just looking at the TA. We're looking at if the market is stretched or not. And then when you sell, the difference between those two is your profit or your loss. Unfortunately, that's just the case with trading. But just don't get too caught up in the actual dollar figure. Just focus on the percentage differences.
Yeah, totally.
All right, moving on to have a quick glance at XRP before we do a little bit of a Forex scan as well. XRP really leading the way in terms of this market structure and what we're really looking at. We had this 33 cents on an XRP, and we did get quite harshly rejected. We have the same sort of outcome that ETH has, but XRP's been really leading the way in terms of the downwards movements, a little bit like BTC, but BTC is a little bit more stubborn than this. So we are closing below the 78.6 fib retracement now, after being rejected on that 88.6, just in the corner there. So it's really leading the way, Ty, and I think the next stop will be this 27 demand. Even though we broke straight through it, I still believe that there is a valid zone here at that 27, and then pending market movements after that, if I zoom into the 4 hour and give you a better look at that structure and how those zones were found. So that one there at that 27 cents. So coming down, closing below, and more than likely moving towards that zone in the near future on XRP.
Yeah, this is your coin, man. I'll let you trade it. Trade it as you see it.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts on XRP right now. If you wanted to draw that trend line in there to really give you a decent grasp on, this is very rough, but give you a decent grasp on where this coin is taking its direction from. You could also draw that one in too. So whether or not we come to and get squeezed in the end of this formation and break in either direction. But I think I'm going to put my money on the downside. That's not financial advice though, but we'll see what happens with XRP. I think you're going to get some nice buys on that 27 or even that 25 cent level in the coming days or weeks, more than likely days. All right.
more than likely days.
More than likely days. If we look at Forex, obviously this is not financial advice. The whole spiel. UTG aren't financial advisors. Need to have this written down, bro. Seriously.
Correct. Don't be an idiot and buy things just because we say something looks good.
Yeah.
Make up your own damn minds.
Correct. Moving on. Anyway, with the DXY, I've been following this for a little while. DXY, obviously the US dollar currency index. We follow this every week. We follow it in Discord. You'll see it thrown around a little bit. This supply has been very, very predictable. We have had these slippages in the market, and it's very difficult to put your, zone in the correct spot. But this one was very, very easy to spot with that green candle there of indecision before we moved down to that 92.55 level. And honestly, we came down. We just had this front run down at the bottom here at that 92.42 level before moving back up, and then we smashed our head straight into that supply again, and now coming back down and making another lower high in that market structure. So not looking great for the DXY, and obviously this is why we say wait for some form of confirmation of the break in supply before you look for buying or longing on a pullback. But this is the reason why. So we are seeing the DXY break down again, and nothing too surprising with this, to be honest. With everything that's going around the world, the financial situation that we find ourselves in, the world finds itself in, with the relentless printing of the US dollar, there's nothing surprising that the value of this dollar is starting to decline, and everything paired against it is starting to run. Just like gold has over the last little bit. If I switch this to the daily, it's having its pullback now, and so it should. To be completely honest, and I haven't moved these fibs for a little while now, so this is a trend-based fib extension from swing low to high to back to the pullback, and to give us that range, because this is all-time highs here for gold, so we needed to use another form of fibs to find really where it was going to go. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see we were teetering around that one level, that 1986 level for gold for a little while here. And then pushing and closing above that, we found ourselves at the 1272, which is the next target, which is the next, area of interest for gold, because based on this trend, based on this Fibonacci level, and a very, very decent bloke this Fibonacci dude is, because he's been right so far.
Leo, my dude.
He's a gun.
Thank you for everything I have.
He's a gun.
Thank you.
But if I had to draw the relevant demand in there, 1970 would be the spot I would put it in. We are teetering back around this one level now. After that, basically tweezer top at that 1272. If we do break and close it below this one, I know it's not a far distance to travel, but you're looking at 1960. Pending that break, we're looking at a lot of Fibonacci levels of interest further down, which is 1918, 1860, and 1826, before we come back to the scene of the crime at $1,800 for gold. So a little bit of ways to go if we do continue to the downside, but something tells me that this economic or this recession that the world finds itself in isn't done, and gold probably isn't done either. In a longer scale, longer term time frame, it might have more downside to come in the immediate term. But moving on to the last pair that we'll have a look at is silver. So silver is in an interesting position also, because our level at $28 level was the relevant supply zone that we've been looking at for a little while now, and I will zoom out for you guys to see where that is from. That was on the 21st of Feb 2013, if I can read correctly there, where we had this pause in the market while we were continuing to the downside towards those depths of $17 and even 15 when we were coming down in 2013. But it's an interesting level nonetheless. But if I zoom in a little bit and see if I can nip it up and draw it correctly, there we go. If we come over, yeah, okay, so we've still broken above this level of supply, so it does give you a decent premise for where this market could go in the future. There is targets obviously to the upside around that $30, $33 mark. Sorry, areas of interest. But it's really going to see the same fate as gold, I do believe. Gold's moving a little bit more prematurely than silver is. Could have a decent retrace on its hands for now. Where we find, if we draw those fibs, the 38, 50, 61 are the three targets that I always like to highlight with bullish pullbacks, I guess. 38 probably being the most important one. 26.9 would be the area of interest that I'm looking at for silver in the immediate term. Ty, I'll hand it over to you. That's the end of our Forex session, I think.
Yeah.
I'll just go over to the holding screen and we'll get ourselves sorted out for Ty's screen.
I'll share just a couple of alt setups with you at the moment. I'll just share my screen ads. Yeah, is that what I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
Okie dokie.
Bear with me one moment while I get everything sorted. 1 second. There we go. You're live, brother.
Cool bananas. All right, so I did share these inside Discord today, but I'll just reiterate them again now because I'm not getting too busy with my alts at the moment, because we obviously need to be paying attention to the ones that we're in, because they are seemingly now a little bit more affected by BTC moves than what they were. So the volatility in alts is a little bit higher. But that just makes it more exciting, doesn't it? So Ion, which is the one that I shared recently, perfect rejection off the 23 fib, almost to the absolute sat. We can see that we've got this MA cluster here as well. Finding myself using Unicon, probably a little more than what I'll just get rid of Gravy Train. How good was Gravy Train, by the way? Perfect. Find myself using Unicon a little bit more in this EMA cross. Looking at the 10 and 20 EMA cross signals, it's not something that I tend to back away from strategies at times and then refine other things and then amalgamate it all together into this sort of Franken strategy, if you will. But paying attention to Unicon a little bit more. And what I've also done on Unicon, which has been like, holy shit, how did I forget that we had this on here? It was I actually don't know what part of it that it was. It was likely something like a strong. I think it's maybe the Unity strong reversal down. Let me just no, it's not. I don't know what part of it that
Talking
it was.
about super trend.
I think it might be super trend. Yeah, super trend. Bang! There it is. Super trend long exit. I've been back testing that on a number of pairs, and that against the EMA cross and like a few other things, whoa, like especially on ETH and BTC, that has been really, really good. So it's amazing when you play around with little tools that we create in the past and like other things that we had, and you just start playing along with things and you find that it ends up really well. So anyway, being very brief, I'm obviously looking for a bounce at around this 1,000 sat mark. It may slightly get front run, but from there you can see that we've got this 50 and this 100 MA support. We're sitting right now on this 20 MA support, but are just headbutting this 200 MA. So I feel like we might range in this little area for a short time, but within this trading range here that I've already played a couple of times, that's almost 10%. So that's a pretty easy day's work, but this is pending only that we hold this 1,000 sat mark. On the daily, things are, in my opinion, looking a little bit better for Ion still as well. Looking for a potential retest of this downtrend. If we bounce from here, which could be sort of 10, 15, let's not be too aggressive, 16%. But that's pending again that we can break that 1,096 sat mark. But in the meantime, you can sort of see that we've been within that range and where we've held there a number of times, and that's been a pretty easy little trade. Steamroller, again, stupidly accurate on Ion here, pretty much calling every bottom and just about every top since. So the other ones that I've got out here on my chart, and it looks so busy now because I'm just sort of testing. We've got our on balance volume, which essentially looks at volume coming into the asset on the allocated time frame, and then my RSI paired against my Stoch RSI. The more I look at it, the Stoch RSI, and this is a Stoch RSI divergence, I really think is my chosen indicator. So steamroller Stoch divergence indicator, and that's pretty much it. I don't mind the OBV, that's okay. Looking at algo, we looked at that again today inside the Discord. Definitely feel like she might need a little bit of a breather. She's attempted to hit this downtrend line a couple of times now, didn't quite get there. But that's been a really, really good trade. I think that did 20-something%. I know 37%. I can't quite remember where we got in, but I think that was one of my entries or two of my entries here at this point. So it's looking okay. Could be a little bit of a cup and handle formation. So if we don't hold this, let's say this 3828 area, I might look for another retest back down at around 3653 to sort of complete that cup, and then maybe have another run at this. But once we do start getting back to this downtrend line, I'll definitely be paying attention. The daily Stoch RSI looking like it wants to cross. We are entering into a potentially overbought zone on Steamroller. Steamroller gave us the entry right there at 3073. So had you followed Steamroller, you'd currently be up around 22% for that, and that's money for Jam. Atom is another one that I'm looking at. I've not changed any of this from way back, so except for this 4995 mark here. So again, looking like on this on the daily, still looking good. There's some really good volume for a low market coin coming into Atom, as there is with Algo and Ion, hence the reason why I've been looking at them. If we can't hold this 3731 mark here on the daily, it's looking pretty bearish right now, although we've got this MA support here. Looking likely that we might come back down and retest this 4100 sat mark, which would, by the time we start getting to there, would start to align with this 50 MA here. Steamroll on the 4 hour and the Stoch divergent or Stoch indicator giving us pretty much called the top yet again for Cosmos or for Atom. I shared BAT today. I said that we probably have a hard time around the 50 fib. We didn't even get there. Rejected just off this 200 MA. A nice little cluster here. Maybe something like this, perhaps, if we can't hold this level. That's maybe where I'd be maybe a little bit low. Maybe looking for somewhere around there for a potential bounce and some continuation. But even on the 4 hour, she's looking pretty cooked, as are a number of the alts. A couple of other ones I want to share with you very quickly were One. I think it was One. One had this point. Again, I haven't changed this for ages because we traded One pretty successfully in this sort of previous little alt season. Again, sort of making this similar sort of formation. Will we have this cup and handle formation? Potentially. We've got this support here at this MA. And by the time that starts to come back down, we'll probably have some pretty decent support around this 50. Even I was amazed at how accurate that was. That was a perfect top, but I was not in this trade, unfortunately. So looking at where we are now within this parallel, we're getting close to a support zone, but I think a number of alts now are just needing a little bit of a breather. But for those guys who are scalping on the alts, be mindful too that when we've seen these heavy pullbacks, we've seen pretty quick recoveries for some easy sats if you're experienced enough to know what to look for. So there certainly are still some buying opportunities on those at the moment. Theta, I've been following this and trading this pretty actively the last little bit. That was the last trade that we made, 18% on Theta, I think last Tuesday when we said you should be looking at Theta. I still believe you should be looking at Theta just due to the impulsive moves that Theta has. You know, we can get 10, 12% candles in a day pretty regularly as of late. We've seen them here, even though the retracements are equally as harsh. It doesn't mean that with a little bit of experience and know-how, you can still make some pretty easy dollars out of this. This is trading the BTC pair, mind you. So this is pretty obvious. We've got a daily break above this 61 fib for the first time in quite a little bit of time. But of course, looking left there where we rejected on the 29th of May, that was a pretty harsh rejection. I don't know if I'm expecting that this time because of this MA cluster and everything that we've got here underneath kind of holding us up. And you can look at how, even this is on the standard Ichi, how beautifully it broke into the cloud, retested Senku Span A, and then bang, up we go again. So that was a pretty easy trade if you're able to catch that one. I'm on the crypto settings at the moment. So if we hold and close above this 3014 sat mark in the next daily candle, which is I think is very much a possibility. Even so, if we were to come back down, it would maybe be back at around this 2782 mark that I would look potentially for another entry. But on the daily, looking pretty healthy. You can't ignore the fact that this is the first time that we've closed and broken above this level since, well, with the exception of this, back in May. It's been quite a little bit of time. So theta is always one that I pay attention to. And just very lastly, I'll share a couple more very quickly. XLM didn't quite go my way. Only got only got 5% out of that. It's looking a little bit like a bit of a dog's breakfast at the moment. But again, I'm seeing, and I've told you so many times to look for these W formations. You can find them absolutely everywhere. That's not to say that this has happened, but we've got cloud support here now. The daily the daily admittedly not looking splendid, but a lot of our indicators are quite low in terms of having room to move to the upside. So I'd be interested to see if we were to hold between here and this 849 sat mark. And even then, I think that would be a pretty easy little trade there, 6%. And just very lastly as well, Tezos, this far out exceeded my expectations. So that was a really, really nice trade. I cut my trade just before here for about 21%. This was my entry zone that we spoke about late last week. No denying Tezos very, very bullish, but we really need to hold above this $3.95 mark. I feel like we very much could do that. But even so, if we were to come back down, it would really only be back down to about that sort of $3.70 mark, $3.65 mark, I think. But no denying now we've closed and broken above this previous resistance here from the 19th of February. And we're now in sort of, a little bit of price discovery mode. So very good for the XTZ USDT pair, and converse, likewise, rather, for this one. I've had this TA drawn up forever. Come up, retest this downtrend line, break, retest, and potentially another move to the upside. And looking at the daily, I still think there is some time to continue moving up. But again, these are the levels that I'm looking at that I've had drawn in forever. If we don't hold this is where I'm re-looking. I'm very bullish on both the USD and the BTC pair. Besides that, that's pretty much all I'm looking at. Most of my trades this week or over the last couple of weeks have been in USDT. So I've still got quite a healthy cash position as well. Didn't quite get what I was expecting on BCH. It's sort of more so following. I thought it was following BTC very closely, but BTC, XRP, and BCH looking very similar at the moment. But I'm not discounting Bitcoin Cash. ETC was another one that I was looking at, rejected pretty much perfectly off this parallel channel. I'll look to see what happens around this 200 NMA, which is usually a pretty good level for a pickup on just about any time frame. That the 200 MA is a pretty solid level of resistance, although we have had these sort of scam weeks. But these have been a couple of nice little trades this week as well. One that I think we need to be paying more attention to in the coming weeks and or months potentially is LTC, and that would be the maybe not so much that, but the BTC and even the Ethereum pair on wow, I don't remember the last time I drew this. So even on the 4 hour now, the Bitcoin pair looking pretty all right. I definitely want to see it hold this this level here for this resistance support flip and around this 200 MA. Very quickly, we very much could come back down and retest the bottom of this cloud before another move up, which would make a really, really nice edge-to-edge trade. But a fair bit of MA support here as well. So the LTC BTC pair might be one to keep your eyes on. And that is me done for the night.
Sweetness, broski. All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, trade well, and we'll see you inside the Discord. Got the sign off this week. I've just got to make one minor tweak to our episode with Credible Crypto for the Trade Hacker podcast, where he talks about running businesses, Elliott Waves, why he's such a proponent that often gets pretty bashed about XRP. He was a really big proponent of Link, and he talks about how what he looks for fundamentally. And from a use case for certain pairs. And he gives us a couple of pairs that he's looking at as well for the rest of 2020. So hopefully we'll have that released in the next couple of days. Just got to make a minor tweak, and then we shall release that for your listening pleasure.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a long one, but it's been hopefully we gave you enough value for your Tuesday night. But we'll see you guys Thursday, and stay safe out there. We'll see you then.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.